Hello and welcome to the Pacific Surfliner Basketball Tip-Off Show on KDOC. I'm Randy Rosenbaum along with the Professor Paul Westfall. We're back. We've expanded. We're going to have more games for you this year. So we're going to preview all the top teams in Southern California in both the Southern section and the City section. And we'll throw in some Big West college basketball thoughts as well. Professor, it's great to see you.
Well, thanks very much, Randy. It's great to be back. I think this is a banner year for Southern California basketball, and particularly in the Southern section. We've got some of the best players in the country, along with some of the best nationally ranked teams. And I think for competition in the highly sought-after Open Division, where the top 8 teams face off, I think it's really going to be fevered competition because, in my estimation, there are 14, maybe 16 teams that have a legitimate shot at making the Open Division.
We're at Sierra Canyon, home of the Trailblazers, 2-time state champions. They will be fabulous again, even though Andre Chevalier lost a lot of talent.
Well, you would think if you lost players to the likes of Duke, Arizona, Vanderbilt, and IMG Academy, you can't possibly be as good as you were last year. Sierra Canyon might be better. There are teams that would kill to have one McDonald's All-American candidate. Well, Sierra Canyon has 2. They've got Zaire Williams and a transfer in from Georgia named Brandon Boston, and they just lead a stellar group of players that include the very heralded sons of LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, and we're talking, of course, about Bronny James and Zaire Wade, and that's not all the talent that Sierra Canyon has.
Yeah, they have the likes of Terran Frank, who returns this year healthy, and also a guy I loved last year, Amari Bailey, who can jump through the gym. And again, we'll talk to Andre Chevalier in a little bit about his club. Let's move on to another squad that was so great last year. Modern Day. They were young, maybe overachieved for Gary McKnight, but they have all 5 starters back, led by the point guard, Devin Askew.
Yeah, this is the team that I thought, with all the underclassmen that Gary McKnight and his assistant Jason Quinn utilized last year, I do think they overachieved. This is a team that got better and better as the year progressed. And in addition to the Kentucky commit Devin Askew, they're loaded with talent all over the floor. They've got a couple of bigs in Wilhelm Breedenbach and Harry Hornery, who are long. They can shoot the 3 ball, they can rebound and defend, and a couple of wing shooters in Ryan Evans and Aiden Prukop. So Modern Day will be really tough to defend, and you know with McKnight and Quinn, they'll be well coached.
The best player in the country may be at Rancho Christian. He's on his way to USC down the road. But for now, we get to witness Evan Mobley.
Yeah, I don't think it's a stretch to say that Evan Mobley is the #1 player in the country. That's not just my opinion, it's many people's opinion across the country. But that's not all that Ray Bearfield has over at Rancho Christian. I got a chance to see them in their season opener against a very good Pacifica Christian team, and they've got a couple of great wing shooters in Dominic Harris, who's on his way to Gonzaga, and junior Luke Turner, who could fill it up last year, but his game has completely improved in all aspects. That and a couple of tenacious guards. Rancho Christian is loaded, and anytime you've got the best player in the country, you're in every game. They'll be there at the finish.
We're talking about some of the premier teams in Southern California, and another one is Etiwanda. Dave Kleckner does a terrific job there as the head coach, and he preaches defense.
Oh, he certainly does. I think he's the best coach in an area that features a lot of great coaches. If I had a son, I'd want him to play for Dave Kleckner. Of course, if I had a son, he'd be 45 years old and painfully slow, so minutes would be tough to come by. But Etiwanda returns almost everyone back from last year's team that was so very successful, losing a couple of close games in the playoffs that kept them from further success. Cameron Pierce is a blur as a point guard. They've got athletes galore in Brantley Stevenson, Tyree Campbell. Jemai Mashak's going to be one of the great underclassmen in the country this year, but they added the piece that they might need. Sometimes they couldn't score the ball. So this year they've added transfer Jalen Clark from Corona Centennial. He's a 20-point per game type of scorer and a lockdown defender. He fits perfectly in Kleckner's system.
I know you've been talking Windward up, but I know you love a guy by the name of Tillis who plays for Windward.
Oh, I'll tell you, Windward, I think, flew under the radar a little bit, but Colin Pfaff's got a really good team. They lost a couple of close ones last year. They lost to Chino Hills in the playoffs. This is a team that has a 6'6" senior in Devin Tillis, who is an all-around player. He can play all 5 positions. He's a terrific talent. But the 2 keys might be the sophomores. They've got a couple of kids that started every game last year as freshmen. 6'8" Kijani Wright is a beast inside. And the point guard, 6'2" Dylan Andrews, is a complete point guard. He does everything. He can penetrate. He can dish. He can shoot. He can defend. This team is going to be really exciting to play, and they play Sierra Canyon in league, where they only lost by 3 last year with all those underclassmen.
Sierra Canyon's not the only great CIF Southern Section team in the San Fernando Valley. Harvard Westlake, Dave Rabibo's club, returns a lot of starters. I love Mason Hooks, the big fella in the middle.
Well, it's kind of old school basketball. In an age of positionless basketball, Harvard Westlake actually has a back-to-the-basket center in Mason Hooks, who's really smart. He's going to Princeton, so he knows how to play. And they've got a couple of forwards. They actually have a power forward in Truman Gettings. They have a small forward in Grace Dotton. Those two kids got better every time I saw them play. They got a nice point guard in Spencer Hubbard. Harvard Westlake is the favorite in the Mission League and a contender for the Open Division.
Someone once told me that St. John Bosco's got a pretty good football program, but their basketball program isn't bad either, and their point guard, Josh Camper, can get it done.
Yeah, he can. That's Brian Camper's son, who had a great career at Long Beach State. And Matt Dunn, who's a really good X's and O's coach, has some size this year. Last year they played with a bunch of guys that were 6'6" and under. This year he's got 6'10" Isaiah Holm. He's got a 6'9" kid off the JVs named Jeremiah Nyarko, who is getting rave reviews. One thing you know about Bosco is they're going to defend, they'll be deep, they'll compete every minute of every game. They'll be fun to watch.
We're going to be at the Damien Classic. We'll have some games from there, so tell us about Damien, the host school.
Well, Mike LeDuc is the second winningest coach in California active, and he behind Gary McKnight, and he's got a team that's perimeter oriented, but boy, can they shoot the basketball. They've got a terrific shooter in Malik Thomas, who is one of the best underclassmen in the state last year. They've also got R.J. Smith, who's an exciting sophomore who's just going to get better and better, and they have a pure shooter in Austin Cook who can fill it up from deep. They don't have a lot of size, so rebounding might be a challenge, but Damien, if 2 of those 3 guys are on, they're going to beat you.
You know, the Trinity League is very good in basketball. So is Jay Serra, and most of the time we're not talking about them in the Trinity League.
Well, Jay Serra is really loaded this year. They've got one of the best players in the country in Ian Martinez. He's going to Utah. 40-inch vertical leap. Is an explosive scorer, but that's not all they have. They have a really experienced point guard in Justin Williams and a couple of bigs. They got a 7-footer named Hugo Clarkin, who's going to San Jose State, and they got a transfer from Findlay Prep who closed their doors, so there were a lot of people sitting outside waiting for Findlay Prep's players. They've got a kid from Italy. His name's Francisco Bora, and he, at 6'11", is going to be a matchup nightmare.
And when we come back on our beautiful basketball tip-off show presented by our friends at Pacific Surfliner on KDOC, we're going to meet Andre Chevalier, the championship coach here at Sierra Canyon. That's next.